So many people find it scary to look at that small space between their legs. In this Ask Me Anything Live, I give you an anatomy lesson and cover how to do a self-assessment while sprinkling in little nuggets about how to increase your sexual pleasure. Hi, my name's Laura, and on this channel, I cover how to have optimal health through knowledge and movement. I'm live now. Hello, everybody. Let me get this set up on my tripod. Perfect. Hello. Hello. So happy to see everyone. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Aaron. Love seeing you guys. Maybe we need to do a little anatomy lesson while we're waiting for people to come on over and join us. So let me go to my anatomy thing. So I'm so happy to have people coming and joining. I posted an awesome post in my feed, I think 3 feeds ago, where I allowed people to ask me questions, and it was amazing, the questions that came in about people and what they were going through with their pelvic floor. So I think that that's so cool. So I am really, really excited to talk more things pelvic floor related so that we can start to answer those questions. So one of the questions that came in was just talking about the pelvic floor, and I know something that a lot of people ask about is this anatomy piece of things. And I really, really, really want to do an actual formal video about the anatomy and how we name everything and all of that. Because I think that it's really, really, really important, because if you don't know your anatomy, then you can't speak to the doctor about it appropriately. So, I want to make sure that I'm inclusive. So we will not be talking about just vulvar anatomy. We'll also, let me grab my amazing, you guys are going to laugh. So I know some of you haven't been on here when I showed this incredible thing that I purchased. So I have this great vulva puppet. It is so awesome. My hands can go in the labia minora, and so I can make it talk. But because this is so big, and because I do all of these amazing videos, I wanted to have something that was the same size, equally. And I know it's not only penises and vaginas that have sex, but I got this thing and it's so huge and it sticks onto the wall. And so I have been screwing with my boyfriend, and I suction cup it to the wall, and then I hang a necklace on it, or I suction cup it above our where we keep our vegetables and our reusable napkins, or by where we keep the dog stuff for their leashes, and I just suction cup it there and I don't say anything. Oh, and he gets so weirded out. So anyway, so this is a penis, as you all know. So feel free, as we're here talking, to ask questions. I'm watching the comments, but first I want to go through some anatomy, and I think that it's really, really important. So here is your vulva, okay? So your vulva, when people talk about vulva, or people will say vagina, remember the vulva is actually is actually this external part, and vagina is actually the internal canal part. So that is really, really important to note. And I see someone said dating a sex educator has its hazards and blessings. Yes, it does. And so that kind of helps people differentiate things. So if you're talking to a medical professional and you're saying, I'm having issues with my vagina, they're going to think more canal versus if you say, I'm having issues with my vulva, they're going to think more external genitalia. So with this vulva puppet, these dark purple areas are referring to your labia majora, okay? So those are the bigger labial folds. Then these smaller, they're kind of a light pink. This is labia minora. Now, everyone's going to be different. So we should know that, but a lot of people think like, oh, I'm weird or I'm wrong, and like one side is longer than the other or whatever. But just like, so to me, I see so many vaginas and penises and rectums all day long that it's the same as if I'm looking at someone's nose. It's like, it just doesn't even faze me anymore. So the same as someone's face is different, and like how I have some wrinkles here, and like maybe my lips are fuller and someone else might have thinner lips, or my eyes are wider set or whatever, the same thing is true with your vulva and your penis. The other thing that's interesting is just like your face, these areas of our body can age, which is really, really interesting. So I encourage everyone to take a mirror, and the mirror that I have is like pretty darn big. Like it's probably the size of an iPad. And I will look at my vulva because I want to check in and see, is there any, like, are there varicose veins, or is the skin changing, or whatever. Same with someone who has a penis. You want to check to make sure there's nothing changing that you might need to communicate with a provider. So we have labia majora, labia minora. Then we have this clitoral hood. Okay, so this is really interesting and something that I have never covered before, but when we're thinking about sexual arousal and sexual pleasure, sometimes this clitoral hood can get stuck. So it can kind of get like adherent and stuck in place. And so you want to kind of be able to pull that back to reveal the clitoris. And when we reveal the clitoris, or the head of the clitoris, that is going to allow for more pleasure, more orgasm, more orgasmic capacity, which is really awesome, obviously. So, I go into so many of these things in super, super depth, and I give you handouts so that you can then take this information and in the comfort of your home, learn more about it with the workshop that I just announced today. So this will be the second workshop. It's August 15th, and there's a second time August 16th. So you can choose which time works best for you. But we delve into this anatomy and where else the clitoris lives, and specifically how you can start to really improve your sexual functioning. And so it's super, super, super huge. But that is a little extra tip that I haven't shared. So being able to peel back this clitoral hood and making sure that it's movable is super, super huge. The other thing that is really, really important is if you separate your labia minora, you will be able to notice that you have your urethra, and it can be really, really challenging to spot. It's a very small hole, and then underneath your urethra, you have your vaginal opening. So females have 3 holes. We have our urethra, our vaginal opening, and then our rectum. So then when we go over to this lovely beast, it and I want to get like an actual medical model, but I'm so like, I really, really like this one that I have, and there just are not a lot of great options out on the market. But for our male anatomy, so we have our like phallus, okay? We have our testicles, and I have guys listening on here, or these are just all my ladies who are listening, it is important to let people who have penises know that they need to check this area, because a lot of times they're not. And then behind their testicles, we have the space in between, called the perineum, and then the rectum. So what we need people to look at is a lot of times these testicles, they have like, the skin is like really, really flexible. Making sure to look at those skin folds to see if there's any skin color changes, making sure to check the testicles to see, are there any new lumps or bumps or anything around the testicle, around the spermatic cord, all of that, kind of moving penis side to side to check to make sure it's mobile, none of that stuff has changed. And then even taking a mirror and looking at the skin at the perineum and around the rectum, again, to check to see all of those areas of the body. So really, really, really important stuff. So a lot of questions that came in on my account either had to do with preparing for pregnancy or following pregnancy. So I think having a really great understanding of your anatomy is super, super huge, because we need to know what might change or be affected when we have kiddos. And so I love always having people get a good baseline of where are my pelvic floor muscles at today, and then being able to check on them as we go through different stages of life. So I am someone who comes from an athletic background. And so I think because of that, I sort of have this idea in my head of when I used to train, I would kind of know, okay, this is where I am and this is where I need to go. And then I can kind of piece out that process of how I can get from point A to point B. And now it's been fun, actually, as I've aged, to see how those times and things have changed, but I can still keep doing the same things I want to do. Well, I take that same concept to our pelvic floor. So being able to be aware of, do my muscles have more tension? Do they have more flexibility? Do my muscles feel like firm and hard, or do they feel really like squishy and soft? So being able to give your body some of these labels and having you be able to understand the difference between contracting and relaxing, and knowing what that area looks like and knowing what your functions are for your pelvic floor is hugely important, because then you can either decide, do I need to improve and work upon this stuff before maybe I have a kiddo, or maybe I'm done having kiddos and before I go into menopause, or maybe I'm past menopause and I'm noticing, gosh, I'm starting to leak more and I want to leak less. So those are the things that I really think as humans we need to get better at, especially as humans who have vulvas, because our body has this little split called the urogenital hiatus, which is just this little split in our pelvic floor muscles, and it puts us at a slight disadvantage, and so we can tend to have more pelvic floor dysfunctions. So my workshop really takes and breaks that down and gives you some really great things to teach you how to assess this yourself, and then how you can continue to work and improve these improve upon these things. And if you sign up before Friday, there are like 4 awesome freebies. So there's even like a whole additional workshop that I included about posture, which is something I'm hugely passionate about. And how posture can play into what's happening at our pelvic floor. And then I give you some exercises that you can start working on and implementing immediately that will help with your pelvic floor strength, your abdominal strength, and improving your posture. So, it's really awesome. So please remember, if you guys are joining as I'm chatting here, feel free to ask any questions. I will not call your name out, so don't be afraid of that. But the reason why I get like so onto this posture piece is I really know for myself, since I've been working from home, doing this business, since I spend a lot of time on my phone, hanging out with my friends who have kids, I notice I'm constantly looking down and in front of me, and I'm constantly rounding through my body. And when we're getting that constant rounding through our body, we're not getting this upright, open position. And so we start to get weakness through our back and tightness through our front. And no matter how much we might try to strengthen things, it can be really challenging to overcome some of these changes that occur when we keep sitting in or keep doing postures incorrectly. And so I have really been working hard and practicing with myself when I go to do lifting exercises, working on finding my neutral spine. And then when I'm in that neutral spine, can I engage the muscles that are supposed to be engaged appropriately and then do the activity? So I really delve into that a lot deeper with the I've been calling it the breakout session, but it's this whole little mini workshop that's almost like 30 minutes long that you get as an additional bonus for signing up for the workshop that just was announced today, which you can access in the link in bio, which is really cool. So I love that. Some other things that came in as questions, which I was really surprised about, was a lot of people telling me they had pelvic pain. Now, I say that I'm really surprised by that, not because I don't see pelvic pain. Actually, pelvic pain is the thing that I see the most. It's my favorite thing to treat. What pelvic pain might look like to some people is they have pain in their urethra or in their vagina, their scrotum, along their phallus, in their rectum. Sometimes it is pain around their belly button, in their lower abdomen, at where their pubic bone is, into their hips. And so with that, when I'm treating people, what I find is it's because their pelvic floor muscles are super tight. They're just holding on for dear life, and they're not really letting go and having that nice flexibility that we want. And so a lot of questions came in about that. Now, there are a lot of different ways to treat tight pelvic floors, and even if you don't have a tight pelvic floor, don't pop off the IG Live now, because I don't have a tight pelvic floor and I don't have pelvic pain, but I still do these things to make sure that I won't have this happen to me. So things that I ask people to do to make sure that they don't go into this overly tight pelvic floor is I will encourage deep breathing, and then I really love some restorative yoga postures. So if you haven't been following me on YouTube, I highly recommend going there. I'll put the name of my YouTube channel in the comments here, and you can go over and give me a follow. We actually have a ton of new videos that we're chomping at the bit to get out. And so when you sign up for that, then you will get notified. So it's just Laura Mayoffer LLC. You can also get to the link in bio. But I love like happy baby, child's pose, bound angle pose, pigeon pose, cat cow. But the key with these, and the reason why I encourage you checking it out on my YouTube channel, is because I want you to do it in a way that's so supported and so relaxed that it's almost as if you're kind of floating. And so when you do that, that allows your pelvic floor to really release at all those different outlets, at the urethra, at the vagina, at the rectum, and start to move with your deep breathing. And in doing that, that will help to combat having a tight pelvic floor, because the pelvic floor isn't like our hamstrings. We can't just, stretch our pelvic floor easily. And so doing these restorative postures really allows for you to get that mobility and that flexibility without having to kind of suffer those consequences of having the pelvic pain. So again, even if you don't have pelvic pain, maybe you don't notice that you have tight muscles, I still think it's important to notice where is your baseline for your pelvic floor, and to do some of these restorative postures to help get your pelvic floor to a nice neutral. So like after I do an Orange Theory workout, I will come home and I'll do some of these restorative yoga postures to help myself relax and get that pelvic floor to a nice neutral position, and to help connect my diaphragm and my pelvic floor for breathing. So that's really, really, really huge, and something I highly recommend. Another thing that I'll recommend to people who have tight and tender pelvic floor muscles is dilator therapy. And I've even recommended it for people who don't necessarily have the traditional tight muscles, but basically a dilator it can start as something as small as my finger, and it slowly increases in size and can get quite large as my lovely penis thing here. But what happens with that is another way that we can stretch those tissues and help get that flexibility and mobility through the pelvic floor, which is super, super, super huge and important. So I was really proud to see how many people came forward and asked questions and covered all of the stuff about that, because I think that a lot of times we don't talk about the fact that maybe we're struggling, and maybe we notice we're leaking a little bit. And when we cough or sneeze or laugh, we might leak a little bit. And I would say more often than not, it's because those muscles are overly tight, and so they cannot coordinate appropriately. So that's why it's super important to know, what is your baseline? What is your body like now? So then you can figure out the right routine for you, which is so incredible. So I love that stuff. And we have about 5 minutes left. So I want to make sure if anyone has been holding on to a question, feel free to go ahead and pop it in the comment bar. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. I'm going to take a swig of my lovely water. I love sparkling water. It's probably, I know you're not supposed to drink it all the time, but it's okay. Okay, so some other cool things that I wanted to share with everyone besides for the fact that I have the awesome workshop that's coming up, and this hasn't gone live, so only the 5 people that are on the Instagram live right now and whoever watches it later will hear this. In the next few weeks, we are shifting over to a new email platform, and I cannot wait. I'm so excited. It's going to be incredible. I think it'll be a much better way to display all of the information that we're sharing. So as some of you might know, and I'll put it in the comment section here, I also have the account at Clitoris Collective, and basically the difference between that account and this account is that it shares a lot of sex positive stuff, a lot of really excuse me I have a frog in my throat. We share a lot of like resharing content, a lot of funny memes, but we also share a lot of really good evidence-based information about how to have enjoyable sex, whether that's partnered or solo. So between that account, this account, all the blogs that I've created and that are coming out every single week, and the YouTube videos and all of this information that I'm doing, there's so much stuff, and I just think that there's no way for people to stay up to date on all of it. So I'm really excited to take this shift and take this into a new direction. So if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, I promise we do not spam you. We send out 1 email a week. It's on Thursdays, and it basically shares everything. There's like usually a theme with it, and so we'll pull older information and bring that in, and we'll also share some of the newer information that's happening. So if something speaks to you, or maybe even you know a friend or someone, you can go ahead and share that with them, and it's going to be in a lot better, more manageable way for you to read. Also, what I think is huge is that's where I like share the different discount codes that I get access to and all of that stuff. So that's really, really awesome. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm so excited I got to share with you guys because it's been a little bit stressful. Or like makes me a little bit nervous to change to something new. But I just can't wait to do it. I think it's going to be totally, totally awesome. So that's going to be really exciting. And then the other exciting thing is I am just doing more and more YouTube videos. And besides for the YouTube videos, I have some really amazing workshops that will be workshops and like online things that people can take. And I cannot wait to share those with you. So that will be coming up in the works. So we are winding down on our time. It was so amazing chatting with all of you. I'm so glad I got to go through a little bit of an anatomy, not quiz, but an anatomy lesson for all of you. Keep trying to learn your body, learn what's normal, take some time, pull out a mirror, look at your vulva, put on glasses, get a good light, look at it tonight, look at it in a week. It'll change based on what you're seeing and where you are in your cycle and how much water you've had to consume and how much you've sat and all of those things. So start to get in tune with that. And that's literally one of the best self-care things that you can do for yourself. So I know it kind of seems funny as like, oh my gosh, self-care is usually like a beautiful bath or something like that. But this is super, super important, and believe me, you'll thank me later. All right, it was so lovely chatting with all of you, and I will see you next time.